The following program may contain strong language and mature content. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, and welcome. Happy Wednesday. I am Tasha Champion, your host of She Is Shenomenal. And thank you for joining us today, whether you are a regular fan and you watch every week, or if you are new, welcome. I appreciate you being here. Today, we are going to talk about proper planning for generational wealth. So sometimes these money conversations are getting harder and harder to have within families. And we're going to talk to financial strategist Anne Marie Anderson so we can talk about how to have these conversations, what you need to know for your money to work with you, how to plan for the future beyond just your regular 401k or savings account. Because of course, by the time you retire, you want all the money that you can have. So we're going to talk to her about that. But before we do, I want to share something with you guys. So many of you know me. You guys know that I am like the referral queen. If you have something and somebody else needs it, I'm going to make that connection. If you do a service that I hear someone else needs, I'm going to make that connection. Because that's very important to me, because there's enough world out there for all of us. And what I want to talk to my women of color, my Black women, I love you guys so dearly. I want you guys to stop being your own worst enemy, because it's interesting. Like this past couple of weeks, I've been speaking with people about either being on their show or about business. And I'm seeing that there's a lot of resistance in some women. And I'm like, oh my God, if you could just see the vision that's there for you and that people want to have with you. And yet the minute you offer information to them or you offer a connection to them, they shut down, almost as if they are embarrassed that maybe you knew something that they didn't know. Like, here's the thing. We don't know something until we learn it, until somebody else shares with us what we can do, what we can be, how we can have something, how we can learn more. Like it's always going to take somebody showing you, guiding you, giving you the nuggets of information. And as I'm talking to these different women, it pains me because these are Black women. And it's like, oh, well, I can't do this, or I won't do it this way. I'm not going to try it this way. Listen, y'all have to understand, you block a lot of blessings when you keep saying no. Like, if you could just flip your mindset for a second, say yes to something, even if it feels uncomfortable, because that one yes can be exactly what you need to reach your goal. Like all of us have a goal, and there's a path that we have to take. It's not going to be linear. It's not going to be the same direction all the time. It's going to be different. And if you're constantly saying no to everything, if you're saying, well, it can't work that way, and you're not willing to try, you're going to miss so many opportunities that are there for you. And I'm here, like, I want to celebrate women. I want to show women how to get the things that they desire in life, how to live their best life, how to like live in this world of abundance that's available to you. So I really want you guys, please, to stop being so quick to say no, or that you won't try something, it's not going to be worth it. The minute somebody offers you advice, you think of all the negatives before you even give yourself the opportunity to see, could this possibly work? What if it did? Because we're cutting off blessings and we're cutting off opportunities. And, you know, for us as Black women, for me, I have an obligation to help other women. I have an obligation to share how I've gotten where I am. I have an obligation to share when someone says like, well, how are you doing your show? Oh, well, you need to talk to Kwame Corbett of Pyro Media. Oh, well, you know, I want this service. Okay, well, you need to talk to John Roberts of his electric services because you need a plug change. I don't know. But my goal is always to connect people. So I need you guys, please, stop being a no to yourself, because we are all in this together and we really can all keep each other lifted and shining and glowing. Like we can glow up together, okay? And that's what it means to be a Shenomenal woman, is really pulling each other in and showing each other the way. If I'm on your show, I can invite you to mine. If you're on my show, maybe you can invite me to yours. If you're on my show and I see, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I know who would be good for you. Like, I'm going to do that. But if you keep yourself closed off, you're just going to miss opportunities. And I say all of that. I'm going to bring it all back. I say all that to say, do not miss the opportunities that God, universe, Mother Earth, whatever you call your higher power, has for you. It's too important. Okay. All right. That was it. That was my spiel. I just had to get that off my heart because it's so important to me, for all of us to stay connected where we can really grow together and we're not always saying, no, I don't want it. I don't want to try it. Stop that. Anyway, we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to have Anne-Marie Anderson on so we can really talk about what it means to properly plan for your generational wealth, because we do have the abilities to do that. So stick right here. We'll be right back. All right, we are back. Thanks for sticking around. All right, let's go ahead and bring in Anne-Marie Anderson and get this money conversation going. Hello, Miss Anne-Marie.
Hello, Miss Tasha Champion.
How are you, my dear?
I'm fabulous. How are you?
I am wonderful. I'm so glad to have you on. I'm going to give like a very, very quick background. Anne-Marie and I have known each other now for about 5 years, since the end of 2017. So almost 5 years. And we worked together. She was the manager of a medical practice I was working at. And we didn't quite, I don't want to say we didn't get along. I'll just say that we hadn't discovered how we could build our sisterhood together. That's what I will say. But it's interesting because how God always works is he ended up putting us in very close quarters. And because we were so close, we really got a chance to know each other. And we realized how much we had in common. So as opposed to like fighting and bickering, which let me be clear, we never did, but we allowed our relationship to build not only in our similarities, but also in our differences. And she's we became friends. She became one of the co-authors for Shenomenal Women. And we've been riding this friendship thing out now for, like I said, almost 5 years. So I just had to give y'all a little bit of background so y'all know how I know her, because I know she's common women. All right, Anne-Marie, tell us a little bit about Anne-Marie. Tell us who she is.
Okay. Thanks for having me on the show, by the way. I'm honored.
Absolutely.
A little bit about Anne-Marie. I am a mom. I have adult children. I know I look like I'm 15, but I do have adult children. Just kidding. But I'm a mom, entrepreneur. My background is in business administration and accounting. I'm passionate about educating people on finances and having those conversations, like what you mentioned in the intro of the show, how you have those conversations, planning for generational wealth, and just being financially sound. I think it's interesting that you were sharing about how women in general, or African American women, and how we don't support each other and stuff. Just to kind of piggyback on that, I feel like as far as wealth, generational wealth, money conversations, I feel like our community is lacking a lot in that. I don't know, like, if you had conversations like that in your home growing up. We didn't really have conversations like that. And most of my friends didn't either. So it wasn't like something that we know about. So I'm a firm believer that when you know better, you do better. And you also want to, when you learn something, you should share that with somebody else. And so that's my crusade, to just, as I learn more and I know better, I want to share that with other people so that they can do better too. It's up to them if they want to take it and receive it and run with it. Like what you were saying earlier. If they don't, that's okay. I shared it. And, then the responsibility is now on them. So a little bit about me.
There we go. There we go. I mean, I think it's wonderful. And yes, like I was a person who I did not want to have money conversations with people. I was embarrassed by my finances. I was embarrassed with how I handled money. I made a lot of money early on. As a 14-year-old, I would do someone's hair, and I mean, I'm walking out with $250, $350. I'm not thinking about, the future. I'm not thinking about savings. I'm thinking about where's the nearest mall, where Melrose Place. Me and my sister and I would always go there, and that's where my money was going, And so, because I made money early on, I didn't learn how to plan. I didn't learn to prepare. So that's why I think it's important for us to really have these conversations on an open platform, because we want families to start having them within their home. So I'm glad that you do what you do. And I'm glad that I'm not, how can I say this nicely to not offend anybody else? But I'm glad that you stepped out on faith and chose entrepreneurship after 10 years of working in management, because this is such important work that you're doing. I appreciate that. So just to get started, let's open up that door of conversations in the home with your children about money, about finances. What does that conversation look like? And what is the age range you want to say for your children to start learning good money habits?
I would say, the earlier you start with your children, the better. Just to kind of give you an example, when, my kids were growing up, one of the things that, they would get like birthday money, they get money for doing things like, I wasn't a firm believer in paying kids to do chores. I don't know, some people like to do that, but I didn't grow up getting an allowance. And so it was like, I was not a firm believer in that, but you gave them money for different things or whatever. But even at an early age, like I was teaching my kids about savings, like, they have piggy banks. We're believers. So it was like, you got to give 10% to the church, to the Lord. And so they, learned at an early age about giving, and they learned about saving. And I think that those are two important components about, when you start having that money talk, because I think a lot of times people feel like, they get money, they just want to hold on to it. But there is a law of giving and receiving. And firmly believe that, like, if you are like, God's going to bless you. And if you're not releasing, if you have a tight fist, like, it's closed on both ends. There's no place for you to receive, and then you're not releasing. So those are, some of the two things that I taught my kids early on, and those are some conversations that you want to have. Another thing, like when my kids were in high school, I started teaching them about budgeting because I knew they were going to be going off to college. So tracking your spending, having them having a bank account open for them, so that they can learn how to manage it, and overseeing it, of course, but showing them how to track their expenses, teaching them about credit cards and how not to abuse that and stuff like that. So just having those conversations. And I think it's just planting seeds and keeping that door open so that when they do find themselves out in adulting, that these things don't take them by surprise, because I think that that's what happened with a lot of us. I was like you, working at a young age, and I was not thinking about saving my money. Like, we didn't have those conversations in my home growing up. My mom married my stepfather when I was like 18. He's a Caucasian man. And not to put race on anything, but I just feel like in, Caucasian, I would say a bigger percentage, I'm not going to say most, a bigger percentage of Caucasian households versus African-American and other people, those conversations are had. And so he was really my first intro into like budgeting and things like that, and not just blowing your money on stuff. And I was sharing, it's funny, I was having a conversation with my niece and my daughter yesterday. We were on a walk, and I was like, yeah, I started making money when I was a teenager, and I saw these thigh-high boots at the mall that I just had to have. They were like $80 at the time, and I don't want to tell you guys how old I am, but that was a while ago. They were like $80 at the time, and I was like, I had to have those boots. And he was like telling me, like, is that the best use of your money? Like, you should do this and you should do that. I was not trying to hear him. Long story short,
One of the boots. But I like the fact that you said, like, we have to have these conversations, because a lot of us, our introduction to money talk in the house was you ask for something and then you're told we don't have money for that.
Right.
And so that's what you always heard. So then it builds this belief system within you about what money looks like. Well, money don't grow on trees. We don't have money for that. And we never have those healthy conversations with our children about money, how to budget, how to plan. Is this really worth it? Because I'm not going to lie, like early on, my goal was, well, this is what I want and I have the money to buy it. So my needs will just have to make that up later, which that's nothing more than a financial spiral the wrong way. So yes, oh my gosh. So when we talk, when we talk about budgeting, going through college, early 20s, what's one thing, like what's that first thing that a young person should do to start preparing? Like, is it life insurance? And we'll get into that, because I know a lot of people think life insurance is all about death. Is it opening up like a long-term spending account? Like, what is that first thing that they need to do? Because obviously the more years you have that you're putting money into something, the better. So what's that first thing that someone maybe 17 to 23 should know to start doing?
Saving. That would be the first thing. And also budgeting. I think they go hand in hand. So opening a savings account, teaching them how to manage it, teaching them like what they shouldn't go below in that account. They should never let that account go below. Figuring out like what percentage needs to go towards savings, what percentage needs to go towards taking care of your needs, and developing a healthy habit, and relationship with money. I love how you said earlier about growing up, how the conversations we had in our home, because I recently read a book. It's a great book, by the way. It's called The Secrets to the Millionaire Mind. And it talks about having a healthy relationship with, your thought process about money, because we did hear things like that, like money doesn't grow on trees. Like, I'm not made of money. Some of the exact same things that you said. I think we all heard those kinds of things growing up. And what that does is it starts to form, like with anything else, when you have the book refers to it as a money blueprint. So you start having your relationship with money is kind of like it's not healthy. So it's like you think like when you get money, like you're like a spender or a saver, and like you either blow it all or you save it all, and you're tightwad or whatever people want to call you or whatever. And it's because of those conversations that we have that we don't learn how to properly manage. And so I would say, and somebody, that's the first thing is finding out, like, how your parents, how they manage their money, how they feel about money, how they feel about saving, because a lot of that, more is caught than taught. So a lot of that is transferred. It's just because of being in environments and being around that type of conversation. So I would say, making sure that you develop those healthy thought processes about money, getting around people that know how to manage money so that they can help influence and help shape what your healthy patterns and healthy habits as far as money goes. But definitely saving and also just tracking your expenses and budgeting would be something somebody getting ready to go to college. um,
Right.
you know
Okay, cool. So I kind of want to jump all the way ahead so then we can really scale it back and start from the beginning,
okay.
because the purpose of this talk is generational wealth. Those conversations are missing, but more importantly, even if you remove the conversations, do we know the how? Because we can talk about, oh, I want to build generational wealth, but how many people actually know what that looks like? How do you plan that out? How do you prepare that? When you get to your adulthood, ready to retire, do you have money that can sustain you? How do we grow from where we are right now? So what's like what is that opening thing that you should do? I don't want to say thing, but when we talk about generational wealth, how do we start that process?
um Most people are not going to believe this, but life insurance. That is really, how the wealthy stay wealthy, and how they have for generations. Is how businesses are started. This is how they transfer wealth between generations. And unfortunately, there are a lot of things that don't experience, just because they don't know. Our thought, or what we've been taught for years about life insurance, is that really life insurance is there in case you die to somebody. More, that is really how you wealth. Like I would tell, like I'm talking to somebody that's in retirement age, for instance, and people are like, oh, they don't want to spend their money because they want to save their money so that they can leave inheritance for their kids or whatever. Spend your money, enjoy your money that you that you made and you worked hard for, right? You get to retirement age, and have life insurance policies in place that you can leave that to your children and your children's children, because that's how you transfer wealth. And about that is it's tax free. You're leaving money to your family, and you don't have to pay taxes on it. But a lot of people don't realize that life insurance, there are, they have like maybe the old type of life insurance, or they just are not educated on what life insurance does. But really, life insurance is not just there for, if somebody passes away. Let's just say you live too long. What do you need if you live too long?
So these are the conversations that we're having, but why are people, let me rephrase this. Why don't people know that life insurance is for the living? It is not for just when you die. Like, I didn't learn that until someone shared it with me, obviously, but I didn't learn that until I was like in my early 30s. So all these other years, I've only been told, like, protect yourself so that if something happens to you, you'll have your children protected. So why aren't these conversations being had about how you can really use life insurance to build wealth in your family?
I think a couple of things. Number one, I think that that for a lot of like middle class, low class communities, there's a mistrust of the life insurance industry as a whole. And so because of that, people just, they're not open to hearing it. They just, they've formed an opinion. Maybe they had a bad experience, or maybe they know somebody that's had a bad experience. And so they filter everything through that. And so that is one thing, is I think there's a mistrust of the industry as a whole. But I also think it's just lack of education. Like you're not, they're not surrounding themselves with people that know how these things work and can educate them. And so, and then also because, you can get life insurance on your, with your employer. So a lot of people think, oh, I just have life insurance with my employer. That's fine. And they're content with that. Problem with that is that once you don't work there any longer, guess what? You don't have life insurance. You know what I mean? And a lot of times the kinds of life insurance that you have with your employer is not one that's going to give you those living benefits like we're talking about, that, that there's going to be money there if you live too long, if you get too ill, if you get ill, excuse me, or, if you die too soon, things like that. Like they don't know that because they just have not been educated, and there is a mistrust of the industry.
There we go. Okay. So my middle son, he's 17. I, worked with you to get him a policy. Some people may feel like that's too young, but I wanted to set the example and get that ball rolling for him. And of course, he wasn't happy about this money coming out of his account, because yes, I do make him pay for it. But he works and he lives at home. So it's not like he's out paying rent somewhere. And it's such a low amount. And he's 17. What do you feel is the youngest age to, like, is it just when they start working, when they become of working age? It's like, hey, you have a job, we need to go ahead and get policies in place so that it can build over this time.
I think everybody should be insured. I think from a baby on that you should have insurance for your kids. Not to say, oh, something's going to happen to my kid or whatever, but like because of you have these types of plan, like the plan we put in place for your son is called a LIRP, right? So it's basically a life insurance retirement plan where it allows you to put X amount in each month. A portion of it goes into covers like the death benefit should you die too soon, something like that. But another portion goes into where it accrues interest over a period of time, and it's at a high rate of return. So this is a great way for you to grow savings for kids. So think about if you start when they're young. By the time that they graduate from high school, they're going to college. There's money there to pay for them for college. It's tax-free money. They can learn. You can teach them how to be their own ATM. They can pull money out of that for what they need. Maybe they want to start a business. Maybe they don't want to go to college. That's not everybody's path. Maybe they want to start a business. They can pull money out for that. And of course, the younger you start, the more time you give for that money to grow and really be able to take advantage of all the benefits that come with that. Because of course, the longer you leave it there, the more growth you're going to have. And what's great about this type of account, especially that we did for your son, is like when the market is doing well, his money is going to grow. When the market isn't doing well, he doesn't lose any money. So there's not any of loss of money. There's only there's only the benefit of the money being on the upside, like growth on the upside. So it's definitely the younger you start, the better. So I would say everybody, like,
Right.
We can start insuring kids when they're 4 years old. I would say get your babies a policy, start growing money for those kids. So
Okay.
And then teaching them how to manage it.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because we do need to have that. And I was more so referencing when they start working, to allow them to go ahead and get that policy that they can now start to pay for. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, I do want to start talking about 401k, because obviously everybody kind of pours into that. how can we make that 401k better? How can we grow from it? How can we use it? So we're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to talk about 401ks. We're also going to talk about how you can protect yourself as an entrepreneur, because some people are scared about that as well. So stick with us. We'll be right back. All right, so we just gonna dive right on in and let's have this conversation of the ever great 401k, because everyone I hear, it's always like, oh, you gotta have a 401k, you have to have a 401k. And then especially like if your job is matching it, great. But how do you take that 401k and add to it? Like, what services and programs do you have, and what are some secrets and tips that people don't know about with 401ks, and how do you protect that?
Okay, great question. Before we go on to that, let me just say on what we ended on last time. Like, so you can have the policy for, when they're minor, when they turn 18, they can take over the policy. So you're just starting it for them. Just wanted to get that out there. Okay.
Great.
401ks. I am not a fan of 401ks. I will say that. I will say, before I go on to that, let me say, if your employer is going to match it, I'm going to say free money is good money. Okay. In most cases. So if they're going to match it, I would say, yes, participate in your 401k. I wouldn't go over what they match. So let's just say that your employer matches 3%, put 3%. Some people want to put more because, they want to have that nest egg for retirement, which, is admirable. But the thing is like, I ask people all the time when I see them putting in more, like, how much of your own money are you willing to risk? And when I say risk is because, when you have a 401k, their, funds are diversified. They're invested in the stocks. There is no market protection. So when it's kind of like playing the, kind of like gambling.
Mhm.
Or, sometimes you win big, sometimes you lose. But either way, you take the loss, you take the win, right? So my question to clients or potential clients is, how much of your money are you willing to risk? Do you want to risk all of your money, or do you want to protect all of your money? And so with 401k, there is that risk of losing money. I feel like it's okay when, you're not putting more of your money other than what's going into the employer. So what I would recommend for people is if you want to save more money anyway, I would, what the amount that you would be putting over. So let's just say the employer is matching 3%, but you really want to put in 5%. That 2% I would put into a plan, like I mentioned before, like a life insurance retirement plan. You can put that 2% in there, and that can grow, and your money is protected there. You're not risking any of that money. Another thing that another tool that we use, or another product, I would say, that we use to help people that have, 401ks. Maybe they've left their job. So maybe it's an old 401k, or maybe they're at an age where they can move that without any penalties. Because that's another thing with 401ks, is that if you decide, it's like your money is not liquid, right? So you can't get to your money if you need to without having to pay taxes and other penalties on it. Because that's just the way that it's structured. There's no way around that, right? And so the age in where you can touch a 401k without having to having those penalties is age 65, right? So imagine if you're putting money away into an account like that, for years, but you need to access that money for some reason, you can't, and you're going to be paying a lot of taxes. You're going to be paying penalties if you have to move it for whatever reason. So another product that is that we help clients with is an annuity. And I think that a lot of times people don't realize the benefit of an annuity. I feel like for years it's kind of gone under the radar, but like having a fixed annuity allows somebody to be able to put their money into a product where there, again, no market risk, because it grows when the market grows. They participate in the market on the upswing, or the upside. So when the market isn't doing well, they don't need to participate, or they won't participate, so there's no loss. The other thing is that they can avoid probate. So, especially, us living here in California, like somebody passes away, their estate goes through probate. Annuity is a way to avoid probate. And another thing is that there you can set up annuities to where you can have lifetime income, meaning that you will never outlive your money. That's a huge deal. Imagine, because what happens with most people retire, when we go to Walmart, we go to Target, go to certain, even restaurants, and we see people that definitely should be at home retired or on the beach somewhere, and they're working, and they're not working because they want to, you know what I'm saying? They're working because they have to, right? Because they didn't plan effectively for retirement. They thought that they were going to have X amount of dollars, and for whatever reason they don't, or they lived longer than they thought. So now they have to go back to work to make ends meet. So imagine having the ability to not outlive your money. So no matter how long you live, you have money coming in. And depending on how that annuity is structured, there's money left over after that. You just leave that to your beneficiary and they get the benefits of that. And, you're passing that on to them as well. So that's one of the two products that usually help people with for planning for, retirement or something to offset like a 401k.
Right. That's really good because we don't hear about those things. Everything is just 401k, but no one talks to you about the little secrets in there. Like you say, your stepfather knew different things that wasn't taught in your home, so you were able to learn it. But if you don't have that, if you guys are not having these conversations, if you're not out seeking the knowledge of how you can better prepare yourself to have more money, to do what you want to do, what do we do? So I hope right now, I hope the information you just gave alert someone to really look at, hold on, I have a 401k, but what can I do for the future? How can I use this money in a better way? So I hope that really helps somebody, and I definitely believe it does. Now, skipping over to entrepreneurship, because a lot of times people feel like if they are an entrepreneur in beginning stages, I mean, I've heard people say like, oh no, I need to be able to either keep my 401k, or they'll say like, if I lose it, then I won't have life insurance, because like you said, a lot of people don't realize that life insurance ends with that job if you have it only there. But what are some ways that entrepreneurs can, and I'm not talking about those that have like $1 million companies, okay? I'm talking about those that may be at, I don't know, somewhere between 60,000 and maybe six figures. I don't know. Let's just put it in that range. What are some things that they can do to protect themselves, to help prepare for their future? You talked about the life insurance earlier, but what are some other ways that they can really help set themselves up for retirement, since obviously it's not done the traditional way? Uh-oh, did we lose her?
Same advice. For
Oh, wait, Anne-Marie, if you can hear me, hang on, because you are glitching. So I need you to go back and say what you were saying. You were glitching.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
You can hear me now? Okay. I'm not sure what happened there. But I honestly, Tasha, I would give the same advice. Like for entrepreneur, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're somebody that works a 9 to 5, I would say prioritize life insurance and savings. That those would be the two things that I would two pieces of advice that I would give, because whether you're working for yourself or working for somebody else, it's still, it's your responsibility to make sure that you're properly protected and you're properly prepared for for retirement. And when you're as an entrepreneur, you actually have the opportunity to where you're, in most cases, I would say, where you're not paid necessarily on what you're like your hourly or whatever. You're paid on, you have more control over your income, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So you have the ability to be able to set aside more and not be limited by 401ks and different tax criterias and things like that. So you actually have more of an opportunity, I think, to put away more money than somebody who is doing working a 9 to 5 job, because obviously when you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner. So as a business owner, you have some other benefits, some tax benefits that somebody as an employee doesn't have. So, you're able to save more on that aspect. So you actually have the ability to be able to put away more money than somebody that would be an employee or somebody working a 9 to 5. But I would still give the same advice.
Great. Okay. Last week, we spoke with Crystal Morganfield. She's the CEO of TLC Senior Services. And Crystal talked about how there's so many families that have to take out a second mortgage on their home. Maybe the children have to get additional jobs because they're trying to cover the healthcare expense for their elderly loved one. So because, like Mika Morris said at the Shenomenal Women's Brunch, none of us are getting out of here alive. What do we need to do to plan for, those times where now we might need home health care, 24-hour care? Our health insurance has now skyrocketed because we're older and we have all these appointments and medications and surgeries and things like that. How do we prepare for our elderly years in terms of our health care? Like what do we need to do so we're not taking out second mortgages?
So with life insurance, with most of them, you can have some type of a long-term care component, and where you're actually paying for long-term care in advance. Like instead of like paying for it when you need it, you've already, you know what I mean? You've already put away in a plan like that to save for that, so you can pull from that. The annuities, like I was mentioning, some of them offer a component as well where you can have when they credit your money, for growth, there is an amount that can get credited as well that's specific for, like, if you were to go into a home, if you need extra, like you need a nurse, you need extra care and stuff like that. So again, it would come back to life insurance. It's like there are there are different ways to structure it to make sure that you are properly prepared at every stage of your life. And that, again, that's probably, more of a conversation that we need to continue to have with people, so that they understand that and don't limit life insurance to just, stage of death. So again, it does come back to life insurance. It's just structuring it for that.
Yeah. And I'm so glad we're having this conversation, because again, most people believe life insurance is for when you die. And we need to look at the word life in life insurance. It is while you're here, it is while you're living. It can really support you in so many parts of your life. And that's why I wanted to have this conversation, because I want people to know these little things that rich folks, they've been knowing this. And like you said, this is how they built their businesses. This is how, they buy their homes. They do all sorts of things because they know the secret sauce. So Anne Marie, tell us a little bit more, like give us some nuggets about what people need to look at, or what are some programs, or people are like, blown away, like, oh my God, I didn't know that I could actually do that with my money. What's that like? What's that secret that people need to know?
Well, I'll share a story about living benefits with life insurance. So, which I think is a big deal, because you know what? Sometime at some point people get ill. Like it's just inevitable, right? So we actually work with a broker who she got a life insurance policy alert, like the one that we helped your son with when she was in her 20s. Um, last year, I believe it was, maybe 2 years ago now, she actually was diagnosed with lung cancer or breast cancer. My apologies, breast cancer. And she was in her 30s at that time. So when she got that policy in her 20s, she probably wasn't thinking, oh, I'm going to get sick, I'm going to need money from it or anything like that. It was kind of like, I'm in this industry. How you kind of have to use your own product, right? You can't be telling other people about it and not using it, right? So of course she got the policy, not knowing that she was going to get sick. So again, about 2 years ago, she got breast cancer. And because she had the forethought to have a policy in place like this, she was able to pull money out of her life insurance policy. Basically, the insurance company cut her a check for $150,000. That way she could take care of her household bills and everything while she went through treatment. She went through her chemo. She did not have to worry about where money was coming from to pay her bills while she went through treatment, which a lot of people don't realize that happens. Fortunately, she is cancer-free now. I'm happy to say that she's in remission. So that's exciting. But imagine if she didn't have something like that. I think that just the stress alone, and you being a cancer survivor yourself, I'm sure that you can relate to that. Just the stress alone of how you're going to make ends meet, how you're going to pay bills and things like that is not, it would be too much strain on somebody that's already dealing with such a traumatic illness, or situation. So that gave her and her family like peace of mind, and she was able, to be able to take care of a lot of things because of that, and not have to worry about that stuff. So that's one thing that is one secret sauce. Another secret sauce is just that you can grow money in there, in a policy like a LERP, and grow it at a high return. I mean, let's just say, who do you bank with? You bank with like Bank America, Chase,
Wells Fargo.
Wells Fargo. What type of interest do you get with Wells Fargo?
Oh my God, let's not even discuss that. Wells Fargo ain't trying to give up nothing.
Right.
I mean,
So think about, right. It's like pennies, right? Like the interest that you earn. And so people are just like, they're putting money into the bank, and they're not getting any growth from their money. Whereas in a life insurance plan, they can grow their money at a high rate of return. Like you're growing your money anywhere from like 7% to 12, 14, 15, 16%. That's huge. And so imagine that the compound interest over time too, because that's another secret sauce. Like your money is growing at compound interest. So you're growing way more money in a life insurance retirement plan than you would in a traditional savings account. You would never be able to compare how much money you could grow in there. So that's another thing. And having that, you can be your own ATM, pull money out, do what you need to do. Don't pay taxes on it, so.
Okay.
Those
Right. So I hope y'all are taking in what she putting out there, because this is some really, really good information that a lot of people don't know. Again, we know savings, we know putting our money in the banks, we know to have a 401k, and most of people only have it if their job offers it. We know that we should have life insurance. Most people have it only if their job offers it. So if you leave the job, it's gone too. So these are things that you can start to do right now. So like if you are listening and you are pregnant, already start preparing to have that life insurance policy when that baby is born, and let that family wealth start to build. I'm so happy that I put my son on the program. I am going to put the rest of my kids on there because I want to change the trajectory of, my family and the things that we didn't do, the things that I wasn't taught. I want this knowledge, ingrained into my children. Now, because, we just went through a pandemic. Obviously, like you said, life insurance is always the way to go. What do you say to people that have, maybe they never built a retirement? Maybe, like, let's say for someone they might be in their 50s or 60s and they've never built a retirement. And maybe they don't have the type of life insurance policy with living benefits. What do you say to them? How can they start right now?
Of course, the earlier you start, the better. We've established that. So somebody older, I would say, a life insurance retirement plan can still be a good thing if they can contribute enough to it during the time that they need before retirement. You know what I mean? Because let's just say that they're going to retire in 20 years. If they can contribute enough into it in those 20 years, then I would say go ahead and, utilize the life insurance retirement plan as a way to, get to be able to supplement their retirement or to have that extra income. Other than that, I would say it really just depends on what they're, how much they're trying to retire with. We would have to put some kind of plan together. It's hard to just give a blanket response to that. Like there's a lot of different factors that we would have to take into consideration, and based on how soon they want to retire, how much they can put away, what some of the other assets that they have and things like that, then we could put some type of individualized a plan together for that person to make sure that they're on track. But it's not easy to just give one blanket statement for everybody because everybody's financial situation is different.
Exactly. Yeah, I figured that much, but I just want people to know that although you may not have started young, although you may not have had a job where you were able to build out a 401k or a retirement, I just want people to know, like, it's still not too late to start something, to start somewhere.
Absolutely.
So that's a really good thing. Now, you, of course, you are a financial strategist. So obviously you strategize with potential clients, to see where they are and where they can be, how they can grow their money, how they can build generational wealth. So go ahead and give out your information. How can people contact you to get this free strategies, free, no obligation? And I'm saying no obligation because many of you out there have probably spoken with some people and they feel like it feels like they're bullying you. They're trying to force you to take their policy and just take everything that this person is saying. And I fully know, and this is not just from me knowing Anne Marie, but this is from people I know who have worked with her and created plans with her. I know that it really is a free, no obligation, but it's really informative. So how can people connect with you to get this free strategy session?
Okay, so if you go to should I put it in is there any way I can put it in, or just say it out? Okay, so mssa.ke/FOF legacy / if you log into that, you can actually schedule a free consultation or a free strategy session and get some more information.
So that was a lot. Can you give
that's what I was like,
so that people can actually just email you, or a phone number where they can maybe text you and then you can respond with that link so they can get scheduled?
So the phone number that they can reach me at is 940-268-3677. And I'll return their call, text message, and we can schedule a free session.
Beautiful. I love that, because I think the free session is definitely worth it. We have to, at this point, build generational wealth. We have no idea where Social Security is going to be by the time we're older. And
It's
it's
going to
just
be
important,
non-existent.
non-existent, exactly. So we want to have more than what, you know, the world is trying to give us. You got to build the wealth for yourself. And the way to do it, as she said, is start with life insurance. Make sure you have a policy that is going to protect you while you are living. So Anne-Marie, thank you so much for joining us today, for dropping these nuggets of information. I'm sure people will reach out to you to get that free strategy session because it really is important. I want everybody out there building generational wealth and having these conversations with their families. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this week and having this money conversation. We will be back next week. We'll be speaking with Aisha. She's an author. She is a workout guru. Her thing is built, not bought. She has these incredible workout, I call them dance video steps, something, but join us next week so we can talk health. We can talk about getting in shape. You don't want to miss that. Aisha is incredible. And if you're in Southern California, I promise you're going to want to go to one of her classes. So I will see you guys next week. Thanks for joining She Is Shenomenal. Have an incredible week. And Anne-Marie, thanks for being a Shenomenal woman.
Thank you for having me.